believing in co-creation, not charity. That is exactly the mindset for the partnerships we're seeking to build. Thank you again for sharing with us your perspective. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, moving now to the western part of our continent, a region that is largely French-speaking. Our cultural diversity is something that is dear to us. There are over 2,000 languages spoken in Africa, so kindly put your headsets now for the next keynote and allow me to switch to French. Mesdames et messieurs, il s'agit d'une figure emblématique de la nouvelle génération d'entrepreneurs ouest.
Ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give the floor to an individual from the Ivory Coast, president and co-founder of the group Kaidan, focused on the future and on the potential opportunities. He is focused on one main goal, providing the youth in the Ivory Coast a huge, of course, opportunities. I would like to welcome Mr. Alain Kouaïdo. Please take the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I wanted to speak in English, but I will choose French in order not to bother you with my English. I would like to express my gratitude to the government of Qatar and Choiseul, the Institute of Choiseul, or the organization of Choiseul, for organizing this very interesting event. I would also like to thank or to congratulate Pascal for organizing this event. This platform, this discussion is quite important because the African countries are, of course, one of, or are the main emerging or maybe developing economies, and they are facing growing economies, and our goal is to diversify our markets and our economies as much as possible. This event, as I said, is very important, and it allows us to join our wishes and ambitions that are very similar to each other. Now, I would like to focus on the Ivory Coast, on Côte d'Ivoire, and on Qatar too. In fact, this country have actually expressed interest and openness in investing in my country and in many African countries. But how can we invest? What are the proper mechanisms for that? I will give you an example on this type of investment. I will give you the example of my own company that has actually launched partnerships with Qatar. But let us focus on the main interest, or maybe the benefits that the Gulf countries will collect when they invest in South Africa. First of all, growth. Today, investments in Africa have reached $100 billion, and that means that we have solid economies and that the circumstances are great, which of course allows the creation of an environment that attracts foreign investments. This, of course, has led to cooperations with the government of Qatar and in all fields that were highlighted by the other speakers. Mehdi and Linda have addressed some of these topics. Of course, the Qatari companies that will be investing in Qatar will be having access to human resources, to equality, to quality resources too, and to a great cooperation from our side. With all of these opportunities being available, what should the Qatari companies do? I believe in partnerships between the Qatari companies and the companies in my country. This will, of course, allow the growth of the different African companies, a growth that is similar to the one that we have observed in the Kaidan Group. I will talk about the Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. We have been working on the development of a certain city. The project requires $300 million of investments. This city will be hosting 35,000 housing units. So, what are the opportunities that this new city that is being built provides for the companies, the Qatari companies and the Gulf companies? There are a lot of opportunities that they can have access to, specifically with a company such as the Kaidan Group. And this is just an example that, of course, proves how many opportunities we have. My company, the Kaidan Group, is very active on when it comes to technologies. We are one of the main trio tech developers in the Ivory Coast. We focus on fiber optics. We are also focused on international networks. So we cover more than 30,000 kilometers of fiber optics. And against that backdrop, the Kaidan Group will cover 10,000 more additional kilometers of fiber optics. And we're talking about an investment that will reach more than $400 million. So you can imagine the amount of opportunities that this provides. Any cooperation with Qatari companies will accelerate the process of that project and of that plan. The Kaidan Group has an investment fund that is regulated by the proper authorities. It is focused on different fields, on real estate and also on tech. This fund is financed and funded and supported by African and Ivory Coast companies, in addition to other Qatari companies. This will allow the construction of modern cities, of course, also the acceleration of the investment programs. How can we launch that process? I believe this process can be launched via partnerships with Gulf companies and local African companies that are well equipped and capable of taking care of the situation there. This approach is, in fact, supported by our authorities and by our governments. This requires promoting this wanted cooperation, and this means that these partnerships will be solid and will go through legitimate pathways. Thank you so much.
Merci pour cette perspective ouest-africaine. Merci pour vos propos et le partage de...
Thank you for this West African perspective.